Star Wars is in such a strange place right now on a multitude of fronts. Now we're going to talk about the more cinematic adaptations in the second half of this, but up front, taking a look at the landscape of video games specifically. Now we talked, what was it, last week or the week before, about AI Vader coming in and dropping some spicy memes, and Fortnite and Disney getting sued by the Film Actors Guild over the family of James Earl Jones coming to a mutually beneficial relationship in lending his voice to the game. It's interesting how viral that was for a couple of days, but now all of a sudden, Star Wars Fortnite's crossover, yeah, it ain't doing so hot, but something is in the world of Star Wars video games, and that would be Battlefront 2. EA's Battlefront 2, a game that came and went years ago, all of a sudden, for some inexplicable reason, is now not just seeing a resurgence, but is more popular than it has ever been. This is wild. Fortnite's latest Star Wars crossover landed with the impact of the lightsaber set to cosmetic only. Despite the hype, player numbers barely budged. Actually, they dropped. Meanwhile, over in a galaxy that's been around since 2017. Jeez, I didn't think the game was actually that old. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is enjoying a massive surge, hitting an all-time peak in players. Turns out the gamers didn't want Kylo Ren doing emotes or Darth Jar Jar. They actually wanted, yes, Star Wars gameplay, and they wanted more of it, which is, yeah, what I keep hearing about those fans, what they want out of the TV shows, but when they're cheering on the slop that Dave Filoni does when he just continues to jangle the keys, it doesn't really have that long of a shelf life, which is yeah, very interesting. But it's learned that Fortnite is currently at an all-time low regarding player count, yes, which is, it lines up with the recent release of the Star Wars event, according to Fortnite GG, which keeps track of player stats. Fortnite hit an all-time low of around 1 million players. Oh, shit. The most recent stats revealed that the all-time peak 7 months ago of over 14 million players. That was when they ran back Season 1. Oh, God, I can't even remember, but yeah, when they had big, huge throwback event that I guess a lot of people, 14 million people got in on, something like that. To be fair, Star Wars doesn't look to directly be the reason this Fortnite has been trending down since around December and started to dip in February. However, that means, yeah, the Star Wars, it did nothing to boost the player count. And that's also very important. Up next is Simpsons and more Marvel. Yeah, will that make a difference? Of course. But Star Wars fans are rediscovering Star Wars Battlefront 2, just not the cringe campaign, I guess. Via Steam charts, yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2 saw a huge spike in popularity recently with the game. Went from around 1,500 concurrent players in April to over 18,000 in May. That's a bit of an increase, hey? It's currently strong at around 17.5. It's also been said that Battlefront 2 has been trending on PlayStation. Social media is also lit up for fans playing Battlefront 2, all of whom want Battlefront 3. Oh, be careful what you wish for. As of now, there are no plans for Battlefront 3. Yeah, but if EA has an opportunity to go ahead and bleed any more juice from this fruit, you know that they're going to take that opportunity. Stuff it full of more egregious microtransactions, because Battlefront 2, the last time that anybody was really talking about it was the game that really kicked off the conversation about loot boxes. Okay, that went all the way up to I remember a Hawaiian legislator brought it up, and I can't remember if that went to the federal government or at least stayed at the state level. But yeah, this year was the game that was a bridge too far to see it get resurrected. It's very interesting. But yeah, as it's pointed out, what the sudden resurgence in Battlefront 2 tells me is that people are hungry for some good Star Wars games right now. People just want fun, replayable, a tightly made Star Wars game that they can really enjoy, especially now that the franchise feels like it's stuck right now. But I'll be completely honest, Ivan, you might be right on that one, okay? And people are coming back somewhat in droves. 18,000 is not bad, but for a game that would have cost $200+ million, not exactly the great type of return 8 years later that EA would have been hoping for. But what does this tell EA? What does this tell Lucasfilm? What does this tell Disney? First and foremost, those cringe crossovers with fucking Fortnite is a stupid idea, which, okay, I can go ahead and get behind. But they don't actually want anything new. They just want the old stuff. They just want the comfy blanket that they can go ahead and throw over their shoulders. They just want to see Darth Vader swing a lightsaber. They want to have Luke Skywalker come in and also swing a lightsaber. Because I recall the reception of Battlefront 2 back in the day, and it was not a very well-beloved game. But what, standards have sunk so low? pun not intended. And now the remaining fans are somehow thinking that this is acceptable, that you don't actually want something good, you just want to remember things. Which is why when I see news like this, mostly because, well, I'm of two minds about it. Mark Hamill says that it's time for Star Wars to move on from Luke Skywalker. Yeah, he's also making the announcement that he doesn't want to play Luke Skywalker anymore, even though he hasn't really in a full movie since 2017, and he had a bit part in 2019's Rise of Palpatine, so I guess it's been a minute. And less work for Mark Hamill is a good thing, full stop, because he is just such an insufferable and awful individual. I'm alright with him cheering on his own retirement, that's fine. But I also know that, yeah, he's kind of signed over his likeness to Respeecher and Lucasfilm. They can go ahead and wheel out that Luke Skywalker whenever they want to, and they'll just have Mark's voice at the ready the moment that they just type in a script. And then they just have that soulless delivery, which is bad right now, but it's not always going to stay that way. It is, of course, until Disney decides that, yeah, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and remake the OT. I'd imagine that they're probably waiting for a few more people to drop dead before they make the call on that. And even still, I think that they would go all the way back to episode 1 and remake the prequels before they cash in that OT chip. I just wonder if they'd have the balls to remake the sequel trilogy, but we're looking probably like 20, 30 years down the line at that point. And because member berries keep on getting rewarded at these studios, I don't see why that wouldn't be the case if given enough time. In that time horizon, especially with Moana getting a sequel, and then a live-action remake, and then another sequel. We're seeing that getting shrunk more and more with each passing day. Mark Hamill may be ready to leave the lightsaber behind for good. In a recent interview promoting his upcoming film, The Life of Chuck, the Star Wars legend reflected on his time playing Luke Skywalker and indicated that it might be time for a galaxy to move on. Yeah. Because here's the thing, that Star Wars can be so much more than a family drama about the Skywalkers. It really can be. Hell, if there's like a visionary that wants to come along and he wants to tell a story about, the formation of the Rebel Alliance, and he wants to focus on character dramas instead of just these big bombastic, stupid, flashy battles that ultimately don't mean a damn thing. I mean, maybe you should hear the guy out without dismissing it as that's not Star Wars. That's just stripped of the fantasy. I'm not bitter. Nope, of course not. Listen. I'm so grateful to George for letting me be a part of this back in the days, the humble days when George called Star Wars the most expensive low-budget movie ever made. We never expected it to become a permanent franchise or part of pop culture like that, but my view is, like, I had my time, I'm appreciative of that. But I really think they should, focus on the future and all the new characters. And you know what? This is going to sound weird, and it's already difficult for me to properly articulate. I agree with Mark Hamill. Focus on new characters. Tell different stories. Star Wars is a setting, not a genre, not a pigeonholed concept. But no. What are we going to be getting? Skinwalker, Luke Skywalker, and a fucking Darth Maul show. Bro, this is infinitely retarded. Now, I understand in the Clone Wars, he got resurrected by Mother Talzin, and he got given a robotic spider lower half. Fucking kill me already. I was going to say bisect me with a lightsaber, but obviously, thanks to Maul, we know that doesn't work. What the fuck is Obi-Wan's problem? Obi-Wan, he just got hit by the bitch, and he just fucking disintegrated into fuck all back in 77, but I guess George didn't have the foresight that eventually you would have so many strong female protagonists get stabbed right through the fucking midsection and then just walk that shit off the next day. But no, you got Qui-Gon Jinn taking one to the gut and then just fucking peace out so we could go ahead and just troll around the sand dunes of Tatooine. God damn it, shit's so dumb. But anyways, it's Sam Witwer. Oh my god, he's the most competent guy over there at Lucasfilm, which is like being the tallest midget or the fittest kid at fat camp. Not exactly an accomplishment. Witwer promises Darth Maul Shadow Lord series will not portray villains as misunderstood, and instead have him ask, if I'm the Joker and Batman's dead, what does that feel like? Oh great, so you're just going to have morally reprehensible people and other more morally reprehensible people. This is Star Wars, guys. Resurrecting the bad guys, telling a story from the bad guys' perspective, fucking whatever, and ostensibly hoping to try to assuage at least one very understandable fear about the Disney Plus series. Lead voice actor Sam Witwer has promised that the upcoming Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord, what a shit title, that rather than attempting to convince viewers that the villain is misunderstood, the series will instead see him wrestle with his own Joker Batman-style dilemma. Well, not really. It's like, okay, how does a villain carry on? Oh, right, the same way that he was before that he was, confronted by the hero just being a piece of shit. Oh, okay, cool. We know how that plays out in Star Wars. We've seen The Acolyte. All that story was about morally reprehensible people. I guess they didn't know it. Witwer, whose Star Wars history has seen him not serve as the post-Phantom Menace a voice of Darth Maul. Okay. Being portrayed as Zabrak ever since his return in the Clone Wars CGI animated series. God, is that his name? Just it's fucking Darth Maul. Like, there's a one-off villain in the worst prequel. Maybe, potentially. I really do have to run back those movies. I'm just not at all enthusiastic about it. I'd just rather watch Lord of the Rings again. But anyways, that's the thing. I haven't seen Phantom Menace probably in, 10 years? Whenever the Blu-rays first came out. That's when I went through the entire saga, all 6 episodes. That's when I went through that. And still, I remember the Duel of the Fates. I remember the dual lightsaber coming out. Fuck, that shit was huge. I was 9 at the time of the release of Phantom Menace, and that shit was huge. It was everywhere. Hell, at the point of its release, it was the second biggest box office opening of all time. The biggest box office haul. It made over $1 billion. All was iconic. And then, of course, because Dave Filoni's fresh out of fucking ideas, he decides to resurrect him for a stupid cartoon. Anyways, yeah, we're just talking with Katie Sackhoff. Which movie, or is she going to be a part of Ahsoka season 2? Because, we need to hear more about the, trials and tribulations of Bo-Katan Kryze and her fucking goofy-ass almost Mandalorians. Sam Witwer says that they're going to explore Darth Maul's humanity, offering his host that teased the upcoming animated series. Witwer told Sackhoff that Shadow Lord was a show about bad guys versus worse guys, and our bad guys are still bad guys. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, this isn't going to be a show where you find out Maul is just a real teddy bear man. That guy is just misunderstood, that you have to understand, that you have coffee with him. He's really cool. We're not going to do that. But the idea is, in fact, that even though he's a bad guy, the fun of it is going right. But is he as bad as Sidious or Vader? And the answer is actually no. So we're just going to tell you that he's not a bad guy. Or I'm sorry, that he is a bad guy. But then we're going to show you that he's not quite as bad as Palpatine, but maybe he's a little worse than Anakin was, maybe. We got shades of gray here, but it's all just going to be shades of shit because Star Wars simultaneously can't grow up, and then when they're given their vegetables, they want to just go ahead and retch whenever they're put on their plate. Fickle fan base. And this is yet another reason why the Star Wars fandom can never grow up. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Coswell, and I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.